Hey, everybody. So I just got done with another great interview on music origins, this time with a longtime friend of mine, Andy Jacobs, the vastly talented Andy Jacobs. And we had a technical difficulty halfway through. So this is going to be a two-part. I think it's probably going to be best that way. Each part was about 1 hour long. It was a 2 hour interview, but just a great story of how he became a musician, where it all started. It's I'm having so much fun with this. So I hope you also enjoy. Here it is, interview with Andy Jacobs.
All right.
Recording in progress. Andy Jacobs, what's going
Recording
on?
in progress.
The tax man. Hey, tax.
Things are crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's been a long, expensive year.
Oh my God, I want to hear all about it, but let's start in the way back. And
Okay.
the way I've been kicking this off is like a question about when you were a kid with your parents in the car, what was queued up, either radio station or tapes or CDs or anything like that. What was on the playlist with your parents' vehicles?
Oh man. Like before we had our own music.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually K-Quack, which was oldies.
Yeah, K-Quack.
So like hits of the 50s and 60s, and my mom would often listen to like the contemporary adult hits of the day of the early of the 80s. So like soft rock stuff.
Oh yeah,
that you could probably call yacht rock these days.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
But and we didn't have MTV or anything back then until like the late 90s. So that was kind of my exposure to music, was just whatever my parents were listening to.
Yeah.
At the time. So a lot of oldies, a lot of Beatles, Beach Boys, Elvis, old time rock and roll, CCR, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. K-Quack was so good.
Yeah.
Is that station still around?
It is, and it's weird because they play like Nirvana now.
What?
Oh. They're like oldies. That's the oldies.
Oh, we're oldies. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. Huh. Okay. So when did you start getting interested in music?
It was I think it was around 89 or 90, probably like around when MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice was huge.
Yes.
Those were like the first tapes that I bought, and like Boys to Men, Color Me Bad, like all the stuff that was like it was like particularly 1990. I remember Fresh Prince or DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince doing a Summertime. Like that was one of my favorites back then. And we would listen to the radio station, and I would record my favorite songs on the radio station onto a tape and make mixtapes. And I would practice lip syncing along to a lot of the songs, like in trying to like emulate the energy and like Shout by the Isley Brothers and just stuff like that, and Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's awesome. Would you guys like put on shows like karaoke lip sync or?
So it's funny. There was we had like a 50s car show every summer around town. It was always the Erickson Century at the local grocery store in the parking lot.
Yep.
There was a DJ called Biff Harley that would he would play the oldies, but he would turn it into a party and have like a limbo competition and hula hoop competition and stuff like that, and lip sync competitions. and my dad would do lip syncs before I was old enough to, and so I just thought that's what you did.
Right.
And I remember one time we were listening to one of those top 100 lists, and the number one song was "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" by Ruckus Brothers.
Oh, so good.
And then immediately, me and my dad started lip syncing it just for fun, because it was like just getting into the hype. And it was so good that we got a videotape, and we ended up getting hired by Biff Harley to do lip syncs at every one of his shows. And we would travel around Oregon, and I was probably 8 years old around then. And I would stand on a footstool to be tall, and we would just like, I think we had big spoons that we would pretend we were singing into. And I would do the high part, and someone would get into it, and we'd play weddings and stuff, and girls would swoon. And it was kind of a hilarious job, but it was actually my first job ever. We each got paid $25 every time to do a 2.5 minute song. So to do the math, that's a pretty good hourly wage.
Yeah, that's a great rate.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we ended up we kept doing that until I was like 15 for parties and stuff. Just that one song.
Sure.
Because it was such a hit. But yeah.
Did you have like a suit that you would wear or anything like that?
Kinda. I think so. It's hard to remember. I think there must be footage out there somewhere. But yeah, and we dress up and slick our hair back, and try to make it look like we were actually the Righteous Brothers. And some people actually thought we were singing. It was really funny.
Right. Yeah. Those are great spoon microphones. Yeah. So were your parents musicians?
I think at a certain point he would hand us actual microphones, and we would fake singing.
Oh, okay. Got it.
To make it look
Yeah. Were your parents musicians at all? Or are they musicians?
My mom plays some piano. She reads music and can play that way. My dad just, I think he tried to pick up a guitar once when he was a kid, but it never stuck. So I wouldn't call them musicians exactly. But my sister got piano lessons too, so she knows how to play and read music. Where I never learned how to read music.
Got it. Yeah. And it seems, if I recall, like they was singing. I mean, obviously, singing was a part of your lip syncing was a part of your guys' childhood and stuff like that. But was singing also a part of your household?
Not. I mean, maybe here and there, but not. I mean, my sister would belt out Disney songs, like Aladdin and Little Mermaid. But I never really even thought about singing until I was probably 14 or 15. And whenever they would leave the house, I would try it and just see if I could do it.
Test the waters.
But yeah, before that, I never even considered actually singing out loud. I was always just lip syncing.
Right.
which I definitely attribute to the ear. I developed a pretty good ear for music, and I think it's because I spent so much time lip syncing.
Right. You're just actively listening to the part.
And you're just trying to mimic the emotion and add all the little inflections in the voice and make it look like you're the one singing. So you're like 100% listening, trying to hone in on those details. So I think that helped develop my ear for later.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, that's awesome. Now, when did you start actually playing music, and what instrument did you start with?
So I started playing, I wanted to play guitar when I was around 8, probably around that same time. And I think they got me a ukulele. And I took some lessons for a little while until I had my first recital. And the songs that I had to play back then were like Michael, Row Your Boat Ashore and Puff the Magic Dragon, and I absolutely hated it. So I didn't practice, and I barely eked through the recital. And once the recital was done, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like,
Right.
And so they were like, okay, we tried that. And then it was like, it wasn't until I think it was after Kurt Cobain died that I was inspired to want to get an electric guitar. I think it was actually, it was around the time of my 8th grade graduation. We had an assembly at High Desert Middle School where a trio came in and were playing Jimi Hendrix covers.
Oh, wow.
Fully on electric guitar. And I remember riding the bus home that day being like, man, that looks so cool. I really want to get an electric guitar. And then I came home and told my parents, and they were like, nope, remember when you gave up the ukulele? Like, no, you gotta get that on your own. So luckily I had a paper route at that time. So I was able to save up a couple $100 and buy a Yamaha Pacifica electric guitar and a little hot cabs amp. And I remember I had an uncle who played guitar, and he gave me one lesson. And the first, actually, to backtrack just a little bit, I remember going into my sister's room. She had a acoustic guitar, and I remember picking it up when she wasn't there, and I had to like be real sneaky about it. But I remember picking it up, and I started to play the riff to "Come as You Are" by Nirvana. Just like that. Like I suddenly knew how to do it, and I could just see it and put it together like really quickly, which is kind of a difficult riff. And I knew at that moment that like maybe this is something I can do. Like since I loved at that time, I was totally head over heels in love with grunge music. So and Nirvana songs were a lot more seemed more fun than Puff the Magic Dragon.
Right.
So that helped me figure out, I think it's worth it to get a guitar. So I bought that electric guitar, and then my uncle gave me a lesson showing me, I think it was Hotel California and House of the Rising Sun in the first lesson, which if you know the songs and if you play guitar, they have like bar chords and stuff and some like crazy kind of arpeggiated picking patterns. And then I picked that up like immediately, and I just felt like, and I got calluses like within the first weekend because I couldn't put it down. Obsessed with just making noise. I would be in my room just like leaning the guitar up against the amp, making it feedback, and just touching the strings in different spots, seeing what it would do, and just it was more about making loud noise than actually putting chords together and stuff first.
So this would have been probably like 95 or 94, 95?
I think that must have been summer of 95, maybe late spring, summer, like probably June of 95.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was 14 years old.
Yeah. And then, so other than guitar, what were you playing? Any other instruments at that time, or?
I remember we had a keyboard around at my grandma's house, and whenever we went over there, it was like one of those Casio Costco keyboards, and they'd all be like, they'd be like playing card games or doing whatever they were doing, and I'd always go and put the headphones on and just like marvel at all the different sounds and stuff, and I'd play like the demo songs, like When the Saints Go Marching In, stuff like that. And I would just try to like follow the melody and try to pick it apart. And I think we had one here for a little while because we have a baby grand piano, and my mom would play songs and I would just try to mimic her, just the sound. I wasn't watching what she was doing, but I would just hear the sound and try to follow it. Super sloppy, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah. Well, I didn't really consider myself a piano player until decades later. Guitar was definitely my main instrument at first. That was like my first obsession.
Gotcha. And were you experimenting more with singing at this time?
Not yet. I mean,
not
it
yet.
Wasn't until I was well into like learning whole albums and stuff, and then and then I would just try singing on my own. Like I said, when my parents would leave the house, then I would try it, and I'd be watching out the window for when their car would pull in to turn it off, because I'd be blasting Stone Temple Pilots or something, trying to sing along. And it wasn't until I remember getting my driver's license when I could drive by myself for the first time. I think that's when I really started to sing by myself. I'd just go on drives and put in tapes and just sing along and
sing to the windshield.
I just park somewhere and just sing.
Wow.
And develop my voice doing that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man. That's so okay. So what was the first full album on guitar that you learned? Was that kind of how you learned?
Yeah, because I wouldn't really do songs. For some reason I saw it like, I figured that, oh, if I love the whole album, then I better just try to do the whole album. Some of the first ones were like, I mean, Nirvana Nevermind for sure was a one that I did early on, but that one was hard because it changed tuning so much.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like you'd have to go a half step up on the whole guitar and then drop D in standard, and then like it just jumped around a lot. The Stone Temple Pilots album Purple was one of the first ones that I got down that was really fun to play over and over again. I think the Nirvana Unplugged album I had the book for the tab, but honestly that seemed so intimidating to me. I just all these numbers. It looked way harder than it actually was.
Sure.
Let's see. Yeah, hard to think of some other ones. Definitely trying to do some early Pearl Jam. I think I had the book to Pearl Jam 10, but a lot of those chords were really crazy. One of the first ones that I really got obsessed with that I think helped me advance the most was the first Rage Against the Machine album.
Oh, okay.
I remember. I remember like freshman year, I would that was the last year that my parents signed me up for sports. So I did basketball and I did track, and I absolutely hated it because all I wanted to do was come home and play guitar.
Right.
And so when I'd get home, I'd finally got my chance. My parents would be out in the living room watching Jeopardy or something, and I'd be in my room just cranking my boombox up as loud as it goes, playing the first Rage album, and I'd play through it twice a day, and just pretending that I was in the band, just standing up with the strap, and just figuring out how to do which songs were down tuned and which songs to bring them back up, and just learning how to riff and trying the solos. I didn't consider myself a soloist yet.
Sure. Yeah. But that was the practice schedule, was going through that first Rage album 2 times. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yep. About twice a day for at least a whole season until I moved on to the next thing. And then every time I fell in love with another album, that's what I would do. I would digest it that way. I would learn it how to play it by ear. I remember Everclear Sparkle and Fade was another one that taught me power chords and the full-on bar chords and how to move them around really fast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
One thing I noticed about doing a whole album was that when you only do one song, you learn some of their tricks, but if you learn the whole album, you really learn like the patterns that they repeat over and over again, and kind of their formula. So you adopt a lot of their tricks and just to put in your grab bag for later.
Got it. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Kind of the formula of each band and there's what makes their sound, or what made that album sound. Yeah.
So it's almost like I learned some theory from learning like what kind of chords work together and why, and how it's implemented, that kind of thing. Before I even knew names of things, I didn't even know names of chords yet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now, what was your favorite album to learn?
I mean, probably that Rage one was really fun because it had so many interesting noises to make on the guitar.
Right.
just different techniques that other bands would never do, like sliding your wrist up the strings and just stuff like that. Just weird solos and I mean that was that and Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. That I felt like that was accessible but really lush in the coloring of the chords. Like they weren't really average chords. It was kind of like an intro to Led Zeppelin. Like it was like different voices that were kind of odd, but really not too hard to play and really pretty.
So as an aside, I just recently learned that the bass player for Stone Temple Pilots was the one writing all that music. Like
Really?
Yeah, and I forget the guy's name, but like he's incredible, just an incredible musician. But he wrote all the guitar parts.
Wow.
And
Robert DeLeo, I think
Robert DeLeo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Killer musician.
Yeah.
But
his bass playing is off the charts. Like he's all over the place. Good.
He was the first guy that I ever saw doing and I want to say it was like an Unplugged or something like that, but where I actually saw somebody doing walking bass lines and a finger style. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. What's that guy doing? Yeah.
And like just super bouncy bass player. Very kind of Zeppelin-esque, like always moving and kind of staccato bass.
Real tasteful as well. Not your standard just octave, fifth sort of stuff.
Never really following the guitar, always kind of doing on its own thing.
Like a counter melody.
I didn't learn his bass parts until much later though. I remember picking up the bass and it was like reggae music that I liked to try to copy bass. And some ska, like learning those major and minor scales and touring around with that, like Cherry Poppin' Daddies and the Pie Tasters.
Oh,
that was probably around 97 that I tried that.
Okay, yeah. So what was your first band experience?
Ooh, my first band experience. It was a band. I think it was my freshman year, it must have been. And I think I met these kids in guitar class at high school, at Bend High. And it was called Quaff. I didn't come up with the band name. I always wondered what it meant, but they told me it means drinking profusely. and I remember we wrote a few songs probably and made like an early tape demo that I still have. And it just sounds like, I remember I had this effects processor, a DoD FX7 effects processor and I would just write songs based on what the effect was. And I think we had one solid band practice.
Wow.
And that was about it. Yeah.
Right.
I remember meeting the bass player because he lived down the street. I met with him a few times, and we just like listened to Rancid and Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that, and try to figure out how to write songs sort of like that.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. It's kind of embarrassing.
Hey, what came after that?
After that was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now, and let's see. Who? Tell me about it. Who was in that band?
Kelly Graves. He was from Mountain View High.
Yep.
Mike Hornback.
Yep.
He played guitar. He was in it for a little while. I don't think he was in it the whole time. And BJ McCormick.
BJ, that's right. Okay.
He was the drummer, and he would always play with his left hand doing the hi-hat. Nice. So he was like, and we played a couple, maybe a few shows. I think there was one show where BJ's brother Colin played guitar. I think that was like at the Boys and Girls Club or something like that.
Right. Right.
Our first show was at the Mountain View High School Battle of the Bands.
I saw you guys there. that was like the first time I saw you. Yeah.
That's hilarious. We immediately got disqualified because we played way too long. So that's why we didn't win, I'm sure.
I'm sure of it.
But yeah, we had like there was a mosh pit and everything. That was actually a pretty big show for us,
Yeah.
especially for being that young. And I think our next show was at some church youth group thing, and people were like crowd surfing and stuff. It was kind of funny. I think that must have been Mike and Kelly's youth group, because I didn't go to church at all.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There was some girl that we were at high school with, that made shirts for us and made a logo, and that's pretty much where it ended.
Right. Yeah. That was the extent of it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
probably 4 or 5 songs for it, and that's about it.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So that was it for that band.
I think that was the first time I was a lead singer too.
Okay.
So that was the first time I was the lead guitar and the lead singer, and that was horrible. I mean,
dude, you were so good. What are you talking about?
There's footage on YouTube, and so it's pretty embarrassing. And I remember like there was a moment where the mic kept shocking me because like my amp was not grounded at all. So every time a lot of musicians know this, that if you don't plug in to a grounded outlet and you have your hand on the guitar and your mouth touches the microphone, sparks fly.
You're creating a circuit.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to do, so I was just like, this mic is shocking me. And it took like a full 5 minutes until someone came up and just gave me another microphone that had a pop filter on it.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing performance, but it was still fun. It was really energetic and ambitious and overzealous, and
yeah.
We played a Sublime cover and a Smashing Pumpkins cover, and the rest were all my originals.
Nice. Yeah, I remember seeing Mike Graham. Do you remember him? At one point, he I forget the name.
I remember him all.
Yeah. What was their band?
Local Control.
Local Control. Yeah. And grunge was big then, and I was like, man, you guys sounded so good at the talent show. I was like, you guys sound so grunge, and he was like, don't say that. We are not grunge, bro. like super offended.
They were trying to be punk.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
they were trying to be punks for sure.
Right. Yeah. Totally different scene. Yeah, I was too young.
I think they got like second place.
I think so. Who won it at that battle of the bands? Who do you remember?
It was a band called Harry Thrill.
What were they called? Sorry.
They were called Harry Thrill. They were kind of like a jam bandy type thing.
Oh, okay.
I think they had the hot guitarist at the time, who was known for being like the lead solo guy.
Right.
I want to say his name was Todd Seafelt.
Okay. Yeah.
If I remember right.
I remember Todd. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah, but we were just kids. Like these were like the older classmen, so I felt like we were babies to them.
Yeah.
I think we were sophomores.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So when when you were going through this, learning music, learning to play guitar and stuff like that, was it, at this point, were you like, I need to make a career out of this. I need to make a life out of this. Was it?
I kind of decided that immediately, like in the first weekend that I bought an electric guitar. It was like, this is like obviously like my hyper focus. Like I can like spend all day and not eat or do it. The thing is, before I picked up a guitar, I was obsessed with video games.
Yeah.
So like I'd have friends over and we would play Mortal Kombat all night. Like learning how to memorize the fatalities and stuff.
Yeah.
And, and if you've ever played that game and ever went that far down that rabbit hole, you have to be really specific with like, it's like down, toward, down, back, A, B, like you have to do it like at exactly the right time and not too fast and not too slow. And it's kind of similar to like learning a drum part or a guitar riff. Like that obsession sort of carried over to guitar. So yeah, once I picked up that electric guitar, it was like I could do this for the rest of my life and be totally happy. And that's like all I can do, all I want to do.
Yeah. This is now my thing.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Every job I had was just a job, just to like support my career of being a musician. But I didn't realize back then that I was actually forging a career yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Later.
Right. So when did it start to get serious? Like, okay, after Mr. Toads, what came next? What band was next?
After that, started a ska band. I think this was in '98. So the next year, there was a ska band called the Shadow Puppets.
Okay,
and I was just going into senior year, and we were looking for a drummer, and I think I knew I met Jared Grant, who was a freshman at the time. Somehow, I don't know if it was, I honestly don't remember how I met him, but he knew a couple horn players. So we because he played in the jazz band, because he was, as a freshman, he was that good of a drummer. Then we used Kelly Graves, who was the bass player in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, as our bass player again. And we did that for a while, just pretty much just practicing and recording really crappy tapes of what we were doing. No, I don't even think anyone was singing yet in that band. We were just trying to figure out how to get like ska horn parts in there.
Sure. How many horns did you have?
So we had a trumpet and a trombone.
Nice.
Yeah,
their names escape me.
Yeah, but I was a big fan of that music in 1998, which was like the year that was popular.
Yeah, that blip in time.
Yeah, it was like 9 months or so that it was a big thing, like Real Big Fish and Goldfinger and bands like that. We were just trying to emulate that crazy songwriting. But always had to have distortion in the choruses and stuff like that. So had a funk element to it. And through, I think we went to a open mic night at, I believe it was Cafe Paradiso.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was downtown Bend, and it was one of the only places that all ages could hang out at. And we met a guy named Steve Massari, who was just up there, like fully punked out with a mohawk, probably Tri-Hawks, and he was up there with his guitar, just like singing as if there was a whole band behind him. And his songs were like pretty inventive and stuff. So, and he had a good voice. So we asked him to be on our band, and he came to some practices and stuff, and it was probably like 3 band practices in where he was like, I have this other project called Thought Police with this other bass player that I want you and the drummer Jared to come and try out for. So we went over to his apartment, and he was like 22 at the time, and his bass player Mike Larson was 23, I think, or something like that, around the same age. And they worked at the mill, and we were like, I was a senior and Jared was a freshman. So I think he was 14 and I was 17, about to turn 18. And we started playing these Steve's songs, like learning them at his apartment late on nights. And I'm surprised like Jared's mom let him stay out that late. But it turned into we would have band practice at Jared's house eventually. But first we were at I think it was the Regency Apartments or whatever ones were on Full Moon Drive, was where Steve and Mike lived, and
right off of Neff there.
Yep. And Steve's mom was owned the whole apartment complex. So she let us practice in the community room And I remember I'd bring my amp down there. It was so old that it had a heartbeat to it. And we would do Steve songs and like Operation Ivy covers and stuff. And
Okay, what kind of
and
amp was this?
it was a Guild, I think. It was
Okay.
a Sun. I think that it was a cab with a head, and
Yeah.
the head was, I think I remember saying Guild Thunder Bass.
Nice. And it had a heartbeat to it.
Yeah. So and I remember Steve. Yeah, it had a like a thump 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 thump. It just had
Just
this
like
thump.
internal frequency, like a short in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. But I remember like we played a few house parties as Shadow Puppets and Thought Police.
Oh, nice.
And eventually I remember this one fateful night when Steve took me and Jared to Taco Bell. And I remember us sitting in the restaurant at Taco Bell, and he was giving us a spiel about why Scott was dead and how we should give up Shadow Puppets and start doing Thought Police exclusively. And we totally bought into it. And
right.
And from then on we just we stopped just doing Shadow Puppets, and we started fully going into Thought Police and just practicing all the time and every waking moment. And then I think it was that summer, or no, it was probably that fall and winter that we started playing places like Rochambeau. We play their open mic night. And I think that's kind of how we got our foot in the door, was actually playing bars, which me and Jared, it was like, I looked old enough to go into the bar because I was 18 at the time, and I was probably already this tall, which I'm 6'7". And Jared was, I mean, he's kind of a shorter guy. Sorry, Jared. But and he was 14. So like we would go into like Ben's Best Bet and bars like that, and he would have to strictly be behind like a certain wall or something so he couldn't be seen.
Right.
Before we went on stage, and then we'd go up and just be total punks. I remember, but that's what we did that through that winter, just playing bar gigs. Which, looking back, that's crazy that we were still in high school and we were playing bar gigs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shadow Puppets never would have been able to do that.
No. Wow.
So so from there, after that we started getting a following. And I think by the summer of '99, we were being asked to play festivals like Volcanic Rock Festival, stuff like that, where it was much bigger crowds. And we'd go start playing out of town. And then I had to go to, after that summer was over. Oh, and during that summer, we were also playing Battle of the Bands and stuff at like Underground Treehouse. I think that was someplace we played a lot.
Yeah.
That was gaining an all ages audience, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think we won, or we tied a Battle of the Bands with a band called Rosie. And I think that was a big deal to us that people like really responded to what we were doing. And we were just like, our whole shtick was to be kind of jerks on stage. we were Thought Police. Like we would act like, we'd be like, act like oppressive cops.
Right.
And people really responded to that. And I remember there was stuffed animals all over the walls at Underground Treehouse, and people took them all down and were throwing them at us during the performance. And I remember you mentioned Mike Graham before, from being in local control. He was, I think, one of the founders at Underground Treehouse. He was one of the judges. And I remember sitting next to him after we had played, and he showed me the scorecard that he did, and it was like all perfect tens.
Oh, wow.
I was like, whoa, that's crazy that he thought that much of us. I thought I was really flattered.
And
so we started to get this kind of following for having this crazy old school punk, kind of almost Dead Kennedys-esque type in your face act. And Steve's songs were really, really clever.
They were
like
yeah.
in the army now, and drill sergeant, and he had a song about Monica Lewinsky, and just stuff that was really relevant to the time, and no one else around town was writing songs that were that poignant. I thought.
Yeah. You
And
guys
I
were a
felt like just
huge part of that scene. I mean, and that was such a fun time, like it was
it really was.
basically, yeah. I mean, it was basically just bootstrapped by a bunch of kids, and they created a venue, and there were opportunities, and then there was this creative talent with all of you guys, and then a lot of different local bands. And that was a really, really fun time. Yeah. That, that's so cool.
Yeah,
It
and we
was,
really haven't
yeah,
seen anything like that since, which is unfortunate.
yeah, yeah. It kind of makes me wonder what it's going to take, for these next generations to, really be motivated to do something like that, but if
Yeah,
it'll ever happen again. Yeah.
I don't know if it will. I feel like in this town has outgrown that type of tight community. Like now it's like you have all these little bubbles everywhere that only last so long. And if you do last long, then you end up being like higher, all kind of bigger than the average band, and like kind of, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Not quite
there are
elitist,
people that
but
I mean a little bit, but I mean,
sure, sure.
but but at the same time, it's still a small town, and you're like, it's kind of silly to seem so elitist here
Sure,
when
sure.
it's like
Yeah.
everyone fizzles out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like some other big moments. So I remember it was that September. So after that summer, I think we went on tour to like Boise, and we tried to go through Elko, Nevada, and
Nice.
I think put we circled around, and I think we ended up, the successful shows were we played a basement show in Boise, and a house party in Phoenix, Arizona. And I remember after that Phoenix gig, I flew home because I was going to college. And so I was essentially effectively quitting the band at the moment, to go to the Art Institute of Seattle to do an audio production degree. Um, and I did that for about 6 months. I remember like during the winter break, I came back, and they had replaced me with a guitarist named Jeremy McGee, who was an excellent metal guitarist. He had like strumming chops that I never will. Um, and I would come home, and we would actually play a show as a 5 piece, like with very, very little practice. And it was probably pretty sloppy, but like also just super, way more energetic and fun.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember I quit college the next spring of 2000 because it sounded like they were having too much fun.
Yeah.
And I was so homesick that I had to come home and rejoin the band, because I couldn't find anyone up in Seattle that I could connect with, or a scene or anything that was like that. Everyone
Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah.
elitist up there, like if you weren't already in the scene, they were like, no, you aren't allowed.
That's
So
crazy. And really, that's only, from like the heyday of Seattle grunge scene, which was 94, let's say 93, 94,
sure, probably
somewhere in there.
late 80s probably dying around 94. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the peak of it. And then 6 years later for there to be nothing, that's
Yeah.
insane. That's
It,
crazy.
it was
Yeah.
really, I mean, it just seemed like a city that had run its course,
Sure.
and so,
Yeah.
like something where that was never going to happen again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
which it seems as like cities and music scenes, maybe they go through that, and it never really happens again. So
Right.
if you're lucky enough to be in a town where that's happening, definitely try to hold on to it.
there's a huge polka scene here. I mean, accordions everywhere. It's really it's unique.
Dive in head
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Deep
That's
dive into
amazing.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, good bass playing for that.
Right. Yeah.
Get the tuba out.
I'll play the tuba. Yeah. Um, no, that's great. So Thought Police, you guys, I mean, you toured a lot during that time. I mean, probably what, 98 till 2002, somewhere in there.
I think we broke up in, was it 2002? It was either 2001 or 2002.
Okay. Yeah. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, kind of. I remember one of our last shows. I had my guitar stolen at a house party.
Oh,
It was my Ibanez 7-string that I bought with the rest of my college money.
Oh
After I
man.
dropped out, my grandma had given me like 20 grand to go to college. Just in general. And I think I had, once I had spent like 10,000 of it, I was like, I'm gonna drop out and use that the rest to like buy I bought like a $3,000 Subaru, and I bought a 7-string Ibanez guitar, and I sent us out on tour. And we ended up playing again a lot of canceled shows, or going to places and not playing, and we went to like Great America and stuff like that.
Yeah.
in Santa Clara, and just it was like a big vacation, but it was it was bonding and playing some basement shows here and there. And I think we ended up recording an album at one of the basement parties that we played in Boise. That ended up being Producing Trends. That was probably our biggest album, and we did it all in one take. Just down in the basement. We just railed through our set list and just didn't start anything over. And that became that album. That's why if you know that album, it's kind of really live sounding and a lot of mistakes.
Sure.
But it's fun.
How many albums did you guys do?
We did an album called "And the Corporations Go Shopping," which was we recorded at Mike Winnup's studio a few miles from here, where Halogen had their band practice. And that was sort of representative of everything we worked on in 1999 as a 4-piece. And then after I came back from college, then we were technically a 5-piece, and we had new material. Although I think before we did Producing Trends, we did another 5-song EP at the Gwinnett's house that had some of the newer songs on it. And I think that was it. I think after Producing Trends, that was our last real album. I think we played a show in Everett, Washington. Where the sound guy, where no one was there, but the sound guy recorded the whole set. And I think I think he, looking back, I think he must have been Christian, because I think when we played a song called TBN that was totally pointing out a lot of the hypocrisies of trying to sell Christianity to push it further, and I think from that point on, it was, trying to capitalize on it, and from that point on, he was putting delay all over our vocals so you couldn't understand them, which makes sense. If you feel like a band is like ripping on your religion, and
sure.
Like mess with it. But so there was that. There's some. I think that recording is the only recording of some songs we did late in the period where we didn't actually get to record them. At that point, we were all writing songs for the band. So if you find that one, that's a super rarity for sure.
Who has copies of these? Where can you find them?
I think I have a copy of it on my hard drive.
Okay.
I don't think that one's been shared to the public.
Okay.
But if you are curious at seeing one of our watershed moments, when I came, like one of our first gigs when I came back from college was a pep assembly at Bend High. and we were allowed to play 2 different songs, and I think it was How to Make the Clones and Government Kills, and we had to lie about both names to be able to be allowed to play. And I remember by the end of the second song, a mosh pit had blown out on the floor of the gym at Ben High, and all the teachers were like trying to shut it down, like, look, pull the plug, and it was already, the damage was done by then. And so if you want to see that one, I'm pretty sure that's, if you look up Thought Police at Bend High on YouTube, there's footage of that there.
Okay, nice.
Pretty classic.
We'll have to give some links to it, stuff like that. That's so great.
Have a link, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, like you were saying about like
that was that I should say that was the moment where we really went from being a bar band to strictly all ages. Like, I don't think we could play a bar after that because so many kids wanted in just to mosh.
Oh wow,
so
yeah.
I think that's really when like we started breaking out of underground treehouse, and like any venue we could play that was an open space, like we would almost always sell it out, and the kids would like memorize the words to all our songs and stuff, and that was really surreal to see them all like pounding their fists on the stage and just singing every word with us. Like that was nuts.
That's cool. That's crazy. Yeah that's so neat. What a unique experience. I mean, that hardly ever, it's unheard of, really. And I'm now I realize how rare it is, because that really never happened again. Yeah wow.
But really, in this town, I've never seen a local band have that kind of response from kids. Like we did then.
Well, and that's kind of a testament to punk rock too, is that it's such high energy, and it's really built around that kind of angst that all of us were going through during that time as kids. We just wanted to thrash around and fuck shit up and just go. And and I mean, that's definitely where the appeal was, for sure. That's so cool. So
R.I.P. Thought Police.
Yeah God bless them. What came next in Andy's musical career? Where were you at after that?
It's the ending.
No. I mean, where were you at? What was going on after that? After Thought Police?
After Thought Police.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't play for a while after that. I think the next thing that I was a part of was playing bass along with a band called Band, BANNED.
Yeah.
Which I think when I joined the band, we changed the name to In Arms. And I think we ended up being on Piggyback Records.
Okay. Yeah.
Which was a whole nother podcast.
Right.
Ordeals. And I think for a few years I was in bands that were in and out of being a part of Piggyback Records, which was a local music label that started with 30-day notice that you play bass for.
No comment.
So yeah, I think I played bass in that band for probably a summer. And then I was fired for getting with the guitarist's girlfriend at the time, who I ended up marrying. So that kind of, in my mind, justified it, but it was a shitty move that I definitely learned my lesson from. And after that, I joined a band. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I wasn't very experienced at relationships. So after that, I remember one day, what was her name? Anyway, the mom who was the mom at the Piggyback Records.
Yeah. So there was Lana, Vera. Was the Vera. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Vera called me up and said that there was a guy who was a really talented songwriter that she wanted to have meet up with me and to see if I could collaborate with him, and we hit it off pretty quick and started a band called Blame Amy. This was around 2004.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is after I had started a band called Goodbye Dinah, but it was more of my solo project after Thought Police. Actually, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. As Thought Police was ending, I was in a Sublime tribute band called Subliminal,
yeah,
which you played bass for.
another one of those situations. Yeah, another one of those situations where you learned the entire album, and I had never done that before. Oh, you there? You back? Did I freeze up?
Yes. Yeah, you froze up a little, but I heard what you said. Yeah, that was another situation where I had learned the whole album.
Yeah.
Of 40 Ounces of Freedom, and I just had so much fun playing it. And you and Jared would just go down in Jared's basement and drink like 240s and probably smoke a little in between.
Right. Yeah.
And just that was our playing through the whole album, and then we ended up playing like Wall Street Grill and the Grove and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and I remember.
I think Jeremy replaced you at some point, and we did Abbey Road by the Beatles.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember you and Jared came to me and you were like, "Hey, we're gonna do a Sublime cover band," or something like that. I can't remember the conversation exactly, but it was like, "Here, learn this, learn the entire album, like go." I had never done that before.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Parts, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
so,
you did.
And I did. Yeah.
I think I
fun.
I have a recording.
Oh, no way.
Of us playing it at Jared's house that he lived with Tony.
Okay.
Of us playing the whole thing. Yeah, and it's pretty bad.
Wow. Oh, I could only imagine. Yeah.
It wasn't. You weren't bad. It was my voice was just was definitely not like really lead singer material yet. But I was really trying to I was really trying at that point to be like a lead singer. And I think out of that, I started my own solo project, because I think Thought Police breaking up, I felt like, I got to start a project where no matter what happens, I will have control, and it can never die as long as I'm a part of it. So I started a project called Goodbye Dinah, where I was just writing a song every Saturday or every Sunday morning for probably 6 solid months. And I think that's what I focused on after Subliminal kind of petered out, because I needed something to build my chops as a songwriter. And
you actually recorded that full album, didn't you, at that point? Your solo album? Yeah.
Once I had 15 songs, so it was probably at the end of the summer, because I think I started at the end of March. And it was every Sunday morning. I would go to bed Saturday night being like, okay, I'm not going to get out of bed until the song is written and memorized.
Right.
And
that's awesome.
Is this live?
No.
By the way? Okay. Because Jared just sent me a response. It must be. I sent him the mixes of the album, so that must be what he's responding to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Anyway, so I ended up recording those first 15 songs at my sister's. We were at a trip to my sister's place in Pleasanton, California, which is outside of San Francisco. And we were there for 3 days. And they had a 4-track recorder, which I didn't have. So I was like, cool, let me just set up in your dining room and just take it over and just play with this multi-track recorder. And I just made a whole album out of that, which I didn't know I could do, it had no drums or anything, but it had guitar and vocal overdubs and bass and some keyboards and stuff like that. And then
right.
I was like really stoked that I could like kind of prove that I could do that. And then I brought it home and showed people enough to where Mike, the bass player from Thought Police, wanted to play bass with me on those. And this was around 2002.
Okay. Yeah.
This was all happening. And we recruited a drummer. His name's Adam Lowry. He had a pink drum set.
Nice. Hell yeah.
And we played probably 2 shows at Players and a house party before we broke up.
Yeah. Now,
but
one of the things that I've always really appreciated about you is your ability to harmonize, like with your vocal harmonies. And was this kind of around that time when that was starting?
Goes up a little bit.
Yeah. Probably my rural Nevada.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Was this about like the time when you were starting to work on harmonies and vocal layering?
I feel like I started to do that in Thought Police because a lot of times I wasn't the lead singer in Thought Police, but I was priding myself on my backup vocals. So harmonizing with Steve, what he would sing, and doing like punk rock shouting backup vocals, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I think that was, but when I recorded that first album of Goodbye Dinah called Man Overboard, that was the first time I really got to try it out. I'd never really tried the vocal layering, like harmonizing with myself before.
Yeah.
So that was really the first time I even tried that. So that was pretty crazy for me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, it just showed how much I listened to the Beatles and Beach Boys and stuff like that growing up, that was kind of ingrained in me.
Just came natural to you.
I guess, yeah, it did. And I never seemed to have to put effort into like knowing where the harmony should go.
Sure. Yeah.
And I didn't really know, like, I didn't know if I was doing a third or a fifth or anything. Like, I didn't know any of that back then. I just tried to sing something that wasn't what they were singing that sounded good.
I like it. Great approach. Yeah.
And so Blame Amy had Mike also. It was basically so it was me and Jamal. Jamal was the other songwriter. He was the main songwriter, and Blame Amy. He was really good at writing like kind of poppy rock, sort of punkish songs that they were just super commercial friendly, super radio friendly, and I became like the lead guitarist for the first time. I'd never been a lead guitarist. So that's where I got my chops of how to do solos and things like that. And really working on harmonies there. I recruited my old band, which was Mike and Adam from Goodbye Dinah, to be in Blame Amy, which was probably a mistake considering that they